Welcome to this episode of Sunny's Silver Linings. Sunny's guest today is Joe Ruskey, owner of Dependable Solutions. Joe takes us through his unexpected career path into the IT industry, eventually starting his own IT business. He discusses how aligning your values and passion with the right cultural environment can have a lasting effect on your employees and ultimately your customers. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kaila. Over to you, Sunny.
Joe, thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate this. And I'm so excited about having a conversation today and learning from your experience.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I appreciate you inviting me. I look forward to sharing a little bit about me and Dependable Solutions. And this is going to be great. Great way to start the week.
Yeah, and thank you for your partnership. You're a great partner and well aligned with our mission and vision and core values. And so we truly appreciate you. So Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, I don't feel old, but I guess I'm getting older because I started getting into this industry. I graduated high school in '93, started college, didn't know what I wanted to do. Ended up working for cell phone companies, corporate headquarters, basically as a glorified administrative assistant in the IT department. Never had worked done anything with IT. That was right around the time when everybody was starting to transition from mainframe into, this is going to date me, into Novell. So I started working with Novell and I found out that I loved IT. So I worked for this company for probably about 5 years. And then what I ended up doing was I got an offer to go to a company, a large banking company in downtown Chicago, Illinois. Went and worked for them, made probably 50% more salary. Realized the culture was so different than where I had come from, and that no amount of money could ever make up for that culture. So at a very young age, I learned how important culture was, that it wasn't about the money. It was about being in an environment that you like to be every day. Ended up going back to that same cellular company's corporate headquarters. The vice president said, I will bring you back at the same salary you left at if you do one thing and you make sure you tell everybody that you came back because of the culture. And I did. And I was happy to say it. And so, at early 20s, I learned how important culture was. Ended up going and working for a consulting firm in the late 90s. And I had a boss that really was chasing the dollar and not the relationship. And that concerned me. And I had multiple discussions with him. And he basically told me, this is how I run my business. And this is what my business is going to do. And at that point, I figured, you know what? He's right. It is his business. And if I want to run things the way I want to run them, then I better figure out how to start my own business. So in the late 90s, I started my first IT business. If you remember the late 90s, that was before the .com crash. Everything was, no matter what you did, it was IT. And so I ended up getting into more and more working with companies all over Chicago. I had a partner with me that had the same belief of let's get the relationship, the money will come later. And that worked out really well into the early 2000s. My father and mom had moved to Wisconsin, and they went to semi-retire out to Wisconsin. And my dad was a smoker and ended up getting lung cancer. And so my wife and I came out to help him out with lung cancer. And then he passed probably about a year later. And we decided, maybe Wisconsin is where we want to raise our children. Chicago at that point, crime was getting worse. I was tired of traffic and all that stuff. But we moved into a little town of about 6,000 people, and our nearest neighbor was a cow, and so it was a little bit different than Chicago. So I had no idea if a consulting firm could make it in Chicago, and ended up opening, could make it in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and ended up opening in August of 2003. And immediately we had customers because they were dealing with consulting firms that were basically coming from an hour plus away, were charging a lot of travel time and could charge them whatever they wanted because they knew that they were needed. And so we quickly filled a void out there. And so in August of 2003, we opened our doors. Long story short, now we're 30 plus employees, multiple locations, and we've got a reputation of being a very fair consulting firm that always looks at the client first. In fact, we don't advertise, never have advertised, and we continue to grow each and every day. Even during the pandemic, we actually grew 8 employees during that time. So, I mean, we are always looking outward. And so we're focused on the customer and not on ourselves. And that's kind of my leadership style and my team's leadership style as we continue to go down this journey.
Thank you for sharing that, Joe. So a couple of things that I heard. Family, right? So you moved there to take care of your parents, and that shows that you are a family first person, and giving up on you can give up on a lot of other things because of that relationship. And so to me, it seems like you lead from heart, and relationship is so important to you. And even when I look at the journey that you just shared, and from when you say customers first, and what I'm hearing is that people, right, that customers that you serve, and you are building your relationship, your business based on these relationships, and you don't have too much advertisement and other things going on, because when you have relationships, strong relationships, your business grows. When you serve right, you serve from your heart, your business grows. And thank you for sharing that. And that's what we do here at IT by Design. And this is why probably we are good partners. And I know that Dependable Solution is always talk about surrounding yourself with the right people, right partners. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of the, I talked earlier about, never chasing the dollar and always chasing the relationship. You're right. It's people first. And I can advertise, I can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising and not get one client. But if a peer of a business goes and talks to one of their peers, that's almost a done deal before I even walk in the door. And so it's all about that relationship. It's about knowing they can trust you. IT is a very confusing industry, right? We get it because we live it and we breathe it, but people don't understand it. And they want to make sure that, when we're using big words and talking all this talk, that they can trust us. And so we need to build that trust first. And that comes with surrounding myself with partners such as IT by Design, people that have the same belief that I have, that, okay, we're not going to try to sell you something just so we make $1. We're going to tell you what we can offer you. And if it seems like it's a good fit, then we should partner together on it. And if it's not a good fit, that's okay. And that's very important to us, because let's face it, when I go into a customer site, if my back end knock is IT by Design, or I have a dedicated engineer that's IT by Design, the customer doesn't care. They care that Dependable Solution is bringing them the right tool. Yeah. And so that is the important piece. So I have to surround myself with vendors, and partners that I truly feel comfortable putting my name next to, knowing that, we're going down this path together, and I need to be able to trust you 100%. And you need to be able to trust me 100%. And we need to have that relationship so that we can make good things happen. And as long as you surround yourself with those types of partners and those types of vendors, and I really don't call them vendors. Vendors are people I buy stuff from. Partners are the ones like IT by Design that I'm on this journey together. And if I surround myself with the right partners, there's no stopping us. Yeah,
I love that journey together, which creates success together. And when I hear your story and what kind of the way you run your business, it's more, again, relationship. And it's people talk about being a trusted advisor, and the trusted advisor is always the foundation of that trust is a relationship. Relationships are built on trust. And when you can trust each other, you have the relationship, then you look at more of value creation based on that trust and based on the relationship for each other. And that is the journey that makes it a kind of win-win situation for everyone. And Joe, I go to so many different conferences and peer groups in the channel because I have been in the channel since 2003. And what I see is that a lot of partners, that when I see them talk in peer groups and conferences, they're chasing that dollar. That the solution providers, there are a lot of solution providers, they're not building their businesses based on the relationship and the trust. And they think that is probably a faster way to grow their businesses. But if you really look at people where they have that sustainable success is built on relationships, and they are built on referrals, because your best customer is always going to come from that referral. When you have relationship and they see that you are their trusted advisor, they're going to refer that trusted advisor to someone else. And that person is probably in their network, their circle, because they have similar value system. So you're going to get another client with the same value system. And the same thing, it works the same way with employees as well. Your best employee is going to come from referrals. So we truly believe in relationships and referrals, and business that is growing based on referrals. So thank you for sharing that. Now, talk to me a little bit more in terms of, have you had a situation, Joe, where you kind of really have a client where that alignment is not there and you had to make a decision? And do you have something to share from your experience there?
Sure. We've had, so we work with a lot of K-12 school districts. Mm-hmm. And we were working with a K-12 school district that they had ordered I think they had warranted some parts and ended up getting double shipments, and they were a large client of ours, and they wanted us to talk to the warranty company and say, oh no, we never got double parts and we didn't get this, and it just didn't line up with who we were. We talked about it at a company level, and we just said, we're not willing to do this. It's wrong, it's unethical, it's illegal, and it just isn't who we are. I would rather walk away from one of our largest clients than compromise who we as a company are. We ended up not doing it. They ended up being mad. We ended up losing the client, which was a huge blessing in disguise, because what we found out was that client wasn't the right fit for us. It was a toxic environment. It was not who we were as Dependable Solutions. And once we didn't have to focus so much energy on that client, we probably picked up 2 or 3 clients the same size, if not larger, because we were able to focus our energy on what it is, who we are, and what matched well with us. And that was probably, mid to late 2000s, 2005, 2006. That's kind of when we really learned that not every client is a good client, and not every dollar is the right dollar. You have to align yourself, because if you don't have the same views and same energy and same thoughts as your customers, you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it's never going to fit right. There's always going to be a little bit of a disconnect, and you're going to waste energy and time. And in the long run, it's going to hurt who you as a company really are.
Absolutely. Those decisions are tough decisions. But when you make those decisions that are based on who you are, then as a result, you get more people, more customers that are well aligned, and your team members are happy because they see that you are making those decisions. Because even personally, I have experienced that sometimes clients, they just take the life out of you. And they are very high maintenance and not really aligned with that value system. They don't respect your team members. And that's where we draw the line here at IT by Design as well, that if that respect is not there in the relationship, if that overall mutual respect, right, is missing, then it's better for us to not do business. And we have fired customers when especially they cross that line of not respecting. We understand that accountability and people where they can drive, they drive accountability. We are accountable. We do that with our vendor partners as well, but we do it with love and respect. And if it's not working out, it's not working out. So we part ways as well with respect. And you don't, so we have seen, so especially I remember there was a construction company, Joe, in New York City, and we were just MSP. We were not a master MSP at that time. And they were very abusive. Whenever they were calling our help desk to get remote support, and from Jersey City, we were our help desk here in the bullpen, and they were very abusive. And when our engineer was going on site, and they were really not good people, and they were using some language that was not supposed to be used professionally. And I went there, and I'm like, here's your the documentation, and you tell me how many days you need to transition smoothly. I want to make sure that we are here to transition smooth, but please find someone else. We are not the right fit. And what it does to the culture is that the energy, that overall people see that you stand with them based on the core values. We do want to serve customers. We want to overserve them, but there is no compromise on respect and the relationship. And I'm so glad that you are living the same mantra there, and you have made those decisions to really not only to have that information or have those values written on the wall or website, you have lived those and you're practicing those. And that's so awesome to hear. Now, have you, okay, so let's talk about this because, the job satisfaction of some of our tech staff is also based on who they serve, right? So do you see any connection there, and have you experienced anything where your people, because you are doing business with good partners and right value system or value system alignment partners, and do you see that impact on your culture as well, internal?
I do. I see. I recently was doing an exercise where I was interested to see. I know what I think sets us apart from other consulting, for other MSPs, other firms. I know what I think in my mind sets us apart. So I was interested to see what our staff thought. So I reached out to them, and I gave them a couple of weeks to really think about it, and then had them send me their ideas, and we talked about them in some of our meetings. And I knew that we are always watching out for the customer and looking what's best, and not, there are even times where maybe what we're doing is going even above and beyond. You just said overserving your customer, and sometimes that's what we do as well. And it was really neat exercise to see my staff come back, and most of them were saying in these responses that they love being a part of a company that is so focused on the customer and the end user experience that they're proud to say that they work for us. They're proud to say that they're a team. We call ourselves the dependable family. We don't even, we're beyond a team. Unfortunately, we had a shock happen about 2 weeks ago. A very young man, 31 years old, worked for our company for a couple of years. He just passed away unexpectedly on a weekend. And yes, thank you. And it was a very tough thing for us because we were more than a company. We were a family. And so, last Friday, we all showed up at the visitation. Just almost all the company showed up and just, showed his parents how much he meant to us, who he was, how much we loved him. And how much of a part of who we are it really was. And it made such an impact to the family, the comments and the letters and the thank yous and the emails that we're getting, and then the family telling us how much this young man, how much Dependable meant to him, and how much he felt that, he was really a part of something that was more than a job. And that's important. we all have to work. We need to love what we're doing. And for people to not feel that dependable is a job, that they're part of something more than just a 9 to 5, that means a lot. And so, it's rare if we have somebody leave us. And it's most of the time, if they leave us, it's usually because they're pursuing a dream opportunity, something that maybe is in a different city, or they're doing, we had some people leave because they wanted to become a teacher, things like that. We don't really get people leaving us because they think they can make more money at the next company. So I really do think it reflects upon our culture and who we are.
Yeah, dependable family. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm so sorry for your loss there.
Thank you.
And so being there for each other, having each other's back, that's what it really is all about, right? So we all have to work, but when we work with a group of people where they just treat us just like our family members, and then the overall meaning of work changes. And so it's a great thing to create. And thank you for sharing that, Joe. And okay, so I want to move into, let's say I am interested in doing business with Dependable Solutions. And from the ideal customer profile, what are you looking for? So one way to probably look at this is that, okay, you have a referral from Sunny's referral, and I want to do business with you. What do you look for in a new potential customer to make a decision that person is a good is that business a good business partner, a good partner to do business with?
Yep. So obviously the first thing that we look at is, what's the size of the company, things like that, right? Because we've learned, while you think, okay, great, they've got 10 computers and a server, and sure, it's going to be an easy one. Mm-hmm. Honestly, sometimes the smaller ones are the louder ones, are the more demanding ones. It's not a true partnership. Mm-hmm. So we kind of look at, we've got our numbers that we look at. All right, do they have 25 workstations? Do they have at least one server? They got to have 25 workstations and a server, or we're probably not going to even be the right fit. It's part of it's financials, but a lot of it is right around that size. We start to see that they understand that we need to be partners, that we're not just a vendor that they're going to bark orders at, like you mentioned earlier. They're not going to disrespect us, and they're not going to suck the energy out of us. Mm-hmm. So we look at size. Then the next thing that we really do is we go there. Obviously we look at their equipment. Do they have enterprise equipment in place? I'm not going to say we're going to keep you protected if you're running a Linksys router, right? We need to make sure you have enterprise equipment. We need to make sure if you're running SANs that they're not, just some off the wall Best Buy purchase. If they are, we can help you transition to this stuff, but we're no longer going to start supporting. We're no longer going to support. If you're not willing to invest in your infrastructure, then how can we help you support it? Is really what it comes down to. So that's a big
standard solution stack or standard criteria for them to be eligible to get support from you.
Exactly. And then it goes way beyond that, because then we need to have those conversations to really see if we're a good fit for each other. So we like to go and talk to the leaders. Sometimes that may just be the president. Sometimes it may be the president and his senior team. Sometimes, and really what we want to make sure is that we align, right? Dependable, one of the things I haven't mentioned is Dependable focuses on the Rotary 4-way test. And so Rotary is one of the largest service organizations. It is the largest service organization in the world. 1.2 million members, 34,000 clubs, over 200 countries. So it's a worldwide organization, but it was founded basically to get people to work together that have similar values. So Dependable, we focus on Rotary's 4-way test. And that test is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And when you look at those 4-way tests, you're always looking out. Number one, is it the truth? If it's not the truth, you've got a problem. Yeah. But number two, is it fair to all concerned? See, I think that's a lot of things that businesses don't take into account anymore. It's always, am I going to make a profit? Am I going to do that? No. Yeah. Is it fair? Is it fair to all concerned? And so we have these conversations and we discuss this 4-way test, and we let them know that, listen, it needs to build goodwill and better friendship. It needs to be beneficial to both of us. It's not just, we're going to be your vendor. You're going to bark orders and that. We're going to be your partner, and we're going to partner on this together. And we're going to focus on your IT and help you make the best decisions so that you can grow your company. And once we both have that same vision and that same understanding, then that's where we find our true partnership with our customers.
Sure. And so what kind of system do you have to make sure that, so in the onboarding, right? So that initial check is great. And so that makes perfect sense how you qualify partners if they have the right alignment, they have the right mindset to work with you. And is there any kind of annual process or anything like a refresher or kind of check-in that, because sometimes businesses get acquired and things change, and so is there any process that you have built in where it's a regular check-in on an annual basis to qualify them, almost like a quarterly or annual?
Yeah. So in the beginning, especially if we're doing a lot of transitioning, we're meeting probably weekly with them really in the beginning to let them know how things are going. And then maybe after the first month, maybe 2 months, depending on their size and how much we're doing, then we start backing it off to about once a month. We want to do a monthly check-in with them. And then after they're stable, we like to check in quarterly. And sometimes that's an in-person, sometimes that's, via Zoom or whatever. It really depends on where they're located, logistically, can we make it happen? After we've had the customer for a while, we kind of, we do a minimum of twice a year, where we're talking to the C-levels, really making sure that we're providing the solution they need, making sure that there's no issues. Obviously we have, based on some of the recommendations from your team, we have like smile back and things like that. So we're getting constant feedback on ticket closures and things like that. But we still want to talk to the C-levels. We want to see where they're going, what's their vision, so that we can help them get there. We also like to help them, budget, right? So we have an IT budget that kind of looks at 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year. Obviously, it's almost impossible to do a 5-year budget in IT, but it's really kind of a placeholder so that when we do these twice a year or check-ins or quarterly check-ins, that we can make sure that we're on the same page, that we understand where they're heading. If all of a sudden they made a goal to be 100% cloud-based because one of the board members read that in PC Magazine, we need to make sure that we understand that that's now their goal so we can start helping them transition to that. So we really want to make sure we're on the same page with them. And we want to be a part of these discussions so that if all of a sudden they decide, they want to go in a certain direction, if we don't feel it's the right direction, we want to explain to them why we don't feel it's the right direction, whether it's a cost, whether it's the wrong technology, whatever it may be, not a good fit. So we want to make sure that we're catching these and being proactive instead of trying to respond at a later time when it's too late.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So is there anything changed? I know world has changed, right? A lot of remote work, a lot of like where we used to go on site. I will give you an example. So for our MSP in New York City, small businesses here, we had something called like Tech Drive once a month. Even if that on-site visit is not required, there's no ticket for on-site work. We had a process to send field engineer, once a quarter at least for smaller clients and bigger clients once a month. And that has changed now. That kind of overall for last year, it was almost kind of, there was no on-site visit. Now with the vaccine and everything out there and the world, getting back to day-to-day normal or the new normal. So now we are bringing it back. So from in your business, did anything change during pandemic? And are you doing anything different with the customers than pre-pandemic?
A little bit, yes. Well, a lot, I guess, where we all changed more than we thought we did. But so, yeah, I think one thing that we've come very good at is Zoom and all these remote, tools. Mm-hmm. So, I think, we talked a little bit about checking in with the customer quarterly, twice a year, whatever. I think some of that now can be done. We're all very comfortable on Zoom. Before we used it, now we live it. And so we're all used to it. We joke when, somebody doesn't have a mic on anymore. It's not the end of the world where, we just tell them, hey, your mic's not on or your camera's not on, so it's no longer this big, oh, I don't want to do this. This is scary. So I think we've become more efficient in that sense. My territory spans 3 states, right? We have customers in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota. So before, if I'm going to northern Wisconsin, I can visit one client. Well, now I might be visiting northern Wisconsin, southern Minnesota. I can be 3 states within 3 hours before lunch and knock out some meetings. So I think that's changed. From an internal staffing perspective, we have gone where everybody used to come to the offices in the morning to now, during the pandemic, nobody came to the office. We all, it was, we still do a lot of school districts which require on-site work. And so it was just dispatch from home. Everybody has a company vehicle. You just take a car home and everybody dispatch from home. Quite honestly, that saved me actually, because now I don't have to find parking for 20 vehicles anymore. It's at people's houses. Yeah. But we realized how much better it was to dispatch from home instead of having to come in and maybe spend an hour drive time just coming in. With that said, though, one of the things that we missed, we talked about being the dependable family. We love getting together. We love talking. We love hanging out. We like, it's nice when somebody's sitting at a desk and says, man, I'm running into this issue at a client. Yeah. And somebody else can say, oh, I ran into the same thing. Try this. And so while it's not 5 days a week in the office, we've now come back and said, tell you what, start 2 to 3 days a week. Start your day in the office. Let's continue to have that teamwork. Let's build that team up. So I think we still see a lot of value in that face-to-face. And I think we're also being very conscious to make sure that we don't get away from our clients too much. We want them to see us. We want them to know that we're there for them. And sometimes, even though they want us to solve as much as we can without interrupting their workload, which we do, that sometimes that face-to-face can't be replaced. So you have to find that balance, and every client's different, of what it requires so that we never diminish that relationship. So that's the piece we're trying to figure out right now is how do we work as much as possible remotely while still filling that face-to-face relationship building piece. And so that we're trying to figure that out for every one of our clients because it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, that's a common challenge. We have exactly the same challenge where we enjoyed those in-person events internally as a team or kind of doing maybe lunch and learn for customers and others. So that has been kind of a little bit slow. So coming back to relationship, when you're building your business on relationships, and for us as human beings, it is important for human beings to kind of really socialize and get together somewhere. And we see that as well. Like we try to do our employee engagement, client engagement type of activities on Zoom. But there is something that is missing when we do it, with online versus in person. But there are always pros and cons. We ended up saving about 30% of our time, myself not traveling too much, and it's saving me 30%, which I can invest in creating value for our customers and for our tech, for field engineers. Because people are more open to Zoom meetings. It could be the QBR, it could be the monthly service status call to anything where it was always, let's go there and do it. Now let's Zoom it. And it's saving a lot of their time as well, travel time. And thank you so much, Joe, for coming to my podcast and sharing your experiences. Very, very valuable insights. And I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great conversation, and I appreciate it.